Going to my first Worlds was a completely new experience. It was a different city, a different life. Shanghai was very different from Berlin or Stockholm that I lived in before. He's playing against all these amazing players from China and Korea, learning so much every day. Playing against all these new players, you felt this insane drive to become even better.
It's not going to be an easy group for Rogue, I think we can all agree. But when it comes to their domestic performance, they just had a breakthrough season in the LEC, and now they make their international debut against PSG.
I know a lot of eyes were on Finn as a weak link. Can he be exploited? Can it be a problem?
I played Malphite against PSG, and it was like a very clean game from us. I think they didn't kill a single one of us. Almost a perfect game.
We do have Malphite ultimate on the side of Rogue, so there it is.
Flash in for 3. How about the re-engage? Already a 1-for-0 Struck with not to be found. A double kill for Finn, and he heard you talking smack.
It made me feel like we could go further, you know, but then we couldn't really find it within ourselves to beat the rest.
Now for Rogue, they have to contest with two of the best teams in the world. JD Gaming and Damwon also wait in that group.
I was given chances against the top players to go toe-to-toe in matchups where I wasn't very comfortable in, so to say. Playing it against Zoom, he showed me how to win it both sides, which was a bit of an eye-opener for me. In the end, we were just not as complete or as strong as Damwon and JDG were at the tournament, and that's why we got exposed by them and we just got rolled over.
Of course, Rogue must be feeling frustrated. 0-3 on the day, only getting 1 win.
It was very disappointing. Like it's like we weren't even there, you know. When I played against all these players, from Zoom to Nuguri to Bin, I could feel like they were good, but it was not like they were immortal or they were like way ahead of me. I always felt like I was within reach of playing like them, so it was very hopeful for the future for me. In the end, I realized that Rogue would want to change me and I would have to look somewhere else. Talking around with different teams and looking at different rosters, I felt like this CLG roster has the roster with the most potential for me. I actually like the roster a lot, and Broxa being a big part of that. Obviously, we both had the visa situation where we were a bit delayed and we couldn't really make it here on the time that we had hoped.
This matchup will feature a new look for CLG. Finn is finally here in the top lane, but the jungler Broxa is still away, does not have the visa.
I know we are missing people and it's very easy to make excuses for your play because of that, like, oh, we're playing like this because we don't have these people, or yada 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 yada. But I don't like that excuse at all. I think we have to make the most of what we have right now. And us going 0-3 our first weekend is not something that I can excuse, as well as the way we were losing them.
Finn killing off that promo. CLG standing strong, but Kaiser's still keeping on. Finn's the target, RJ's the target, Neo's still standing and fighting, and the boy is winning. Oh, what a clincher. Oh my god, that was so close. The Aatrox life steal is so huge there. Watch, if the second Q from Aatrox would have hit this one, CLG wins the defense.
Every game I think we should have won, and as you've shown, we can get advantages in game, all 3 games, but we need to be better at closing it out.
100 Thieves have battled back and they will take CLG down in a heartbreaking loss. They steal it once again.
Oh, CLG, look at the face of Griffin there. It says it all. How did they lose that game?
If you are in control of the game and you still lose it, then what are you actually doing, you know?
CLG looked good for a while, but it's TSM taking the win here today.
And again, CLG, turns in this performance where they're having a lot of good moments, but they don't know how to actually close out these games.
I've never really been in a position where I would go like 0-3 my first weekend, but I have been in positions where I've experienced a lot of disappointment, obviously. Like the Worlds, like where we would come in and just win 1 game and then go home. in the past I would get a bit more depressed over going 0-3. I would feel like very sad or frustrated, but I think now I'm just a bit more, how to say, motivated to move forward. I just think sulking in the negative won't really solve anything. I think you just need to be very concrete, and you need to figure out what is actually the problem. Like, I can see our team being very good. I can see the good parts that we have. There's always a solution to every problem, and you just need to look past your own emotions to find it.
Welcome back to the LCS, and heading into our second game of the day, we have CLG looking to shake off those bad vibes from that 0-3 start in week number 1. You know what? CLG is just one of those kinds of teams. They can lose these matchups against teams that you would expect them to have a chance against and then randomly take a game off of somebody like TL or Cloud9. It's just the counter-logic way of life, Isaac.
It really is, and I respect Finn talking in that video, you know, really young guy, showing a lot of maturity, I think, after a tough first week. But CLG did have good moments. It wasn't all bad. The thing that just made it feel so rough is that in some of these games, they would win every team fight. They'd be in a winning position, but they just wouldn't know how to close the game. You know, even at times having the soul, they got the dragon soul, and they still end up losing because they're just not sure how to play out these moments. And I think that is going to be very tricky for them going up against Team Liquid today, a team that has a tremendous amount of experience, a team that is known for their late game play. Even if CLG gets ahead, TL is going to make you work for it to be able to close out these games. So we've got to see CLG making improvements week over week. This is a quick season. It is 6 weeks. It is a ton of games jammed into those 6 weeks, and we're already in week 2 here. So you have got to be improving quickly. And I want to see, did they brush up on the mid-game, late game, because they had good skirmishes, good team fights, and at sometimes really did have a good lead in the game.
But one of the conversations I always enjoy the most when a team is in a spot like this, where they clearly showed moments of strength and moments of competence in a loss streak, is that better or worse than the alternative? Because some people say, oh, well, it's good because they've showed us they know how to get things done. They just didn't have the whole package. But then other people say, no, this is bad because they've shown us their best so far, and their best, they still don't even know how to close. It's two sides of the same coin, and that's one of my favorite arguments to hear people, oh, come on, don't ban him away.
Yeah.
All right, well, okay, we got Olaf, Skarner, and Udyr banned away. All 3 run-at-you junglers are not allowed in the game, and we got Zoe banned out now, too.
I like how your eyes are just immediately drawn, your brain turned off, you stop talking, you're like, Skarner! It's just like a bird seeing something shiny there. You just can't even help yourself. Going on to these big stories.
Man.
Man, there's 2 sides of the same coin. It's so cerebral. What side are you on? Scorpion!
I'm trying to sound smart during Jam Select, and now you're just dragging me in front of the whole audience. Oh, man. All right, well, we got the Thresh banned away now, too. We got Talia taken out of there. There's so many junglers banned away in this one, man. All right, let's see what the first pick's going to be. They're hovering over a Rel up here. Maybe not, though. We'll see how CLG wants it to shake out. What do you want to see here in the first part of the draft, Isaac?
I mean, I just want to see comfort for CLG. Finn is actually known as a Kled guy. I think the Rel makes a lot of sense. Smoothie actually performed really well on the Rel last week. Paired up really well with RJS, who was playing the Orianna. Had a lot of nice turns for that Shockwave plus Rel combo with the double ultimates there. Finn, though, just kind of showing some love to what was his most famous champion. That is actually why I started watching Finn when he was in the LEC, is because I love Kled. Not a lot of players play Kled worldwide. He was one of the guys that was putting in games on it, so it was a lot of fun to see. Looking over at the other side here, Team Liquid going to be going towards the Kai'Sa, so is a really strong champion. Pairing it up with the Alistar, you already have the Plasma being applied there. You have the ability to follow up and dive in on any sort of play that CoreJJ is going to be making. But it is interesting to see a tank picked into Rel, because generally speaking, people like Rel into tanks, right? So CoreJJ is not picking so much for the lane, but more for the playmaking and more for the skirmish in 5v5.
And whenever I see CoreJJ, I want to see him on something that makes plays. Like, he's just so incredibly good at knowing breakpoints and power spikes and when he's weak and when he's strong. To see him on something that gets to be in charge of saying, this is where we fight, this is how we fight, that's CoreJJ in his element, man. Across the table, they're going to go ahead and complete the bottom lane duo here with the Xayah immediately picked up, going up against the Kai'Sa with that one, so plenty of traditional marksman scaling here, as well as the Orianna here in the mid lane for RJS.
Yep, so this is a combo that I talked about them playing last week. Did work quite well for them. Jensen will have his opportunity to counterpick here. I know he is more of a fan of the Orianna side of the Orianna Azir matchup. He may take it anyway if he feels like he can just straight up outplay, but you can go for some of the more aggressive options too. Things like LeBlanc are available. You can also just go towards your jungle picks here if you want. Will be probably just the Azir, so interesting to see he's still willing to take this. As I said, mid laners are kind of on two camps here, right? Like, who is advantage? It's not universally agreed upon which side does have the advantage, but I do know Jensen is one of the guys who thinks it's more Orianna favored.
Well, now we're already into the second part of the bans, so let's see how it shakes out. Once again, these drafts are mirrored in terms of the roles that have been drafted, and there are no question marks around flex picks. We know where all of these champions are going, so that means that both teams still need to see their top half of the map. The jungler, the top laner, that's where the bans are focused on. They're banning away the Gangplank, they're banning away the Camille, and let's see what these last two will be here next.
So, I mean, if you want to target top laners, you can continue to do that. If you want to continue to thin out the jungle pool, Graves is still up, Lily is still up. Those are two of the champions that I'm thinking of some of the most played that haven't actually been targeted because, as you said, a lot of the most popular already are banned out with some of those run-at-you style champions. Hecarim, another really strong, hard-engaged style of champion. If they're worried about CLG just having go buttons, I think Hecarim is a solid ban here. Allows you to actually get back onto the Azir, paired up with the RJS ball there for the Shockwave combo, and you can go straight through these your ultimate as well with that Hecarim one, so it does make some sense. For CLG, I think that they could just continue to ban out more towards the top lane, try to get an advantageous matchup there for Finn, but instead it will be Nidalee. So expecting an AD top laner from Alphari, expecting that they would want some AP in the jungle. They will take away one of the remaining options there, but Lilia is still up if you want an AP jungler. So I don't think that the pool has been pinched so much that it really matters, because these days it feels like jungle is incredibly flexible.
And hey, you named it, and it looks like Team Liquid is picking up the same kind of vibes, my friend. They do want to leave that last pick available for top lane. I very much like them leaving last pick for top as opposed to jungle. Grabbing the Lilia as just a generally strong threat for AP from the jungle role is TL's choice, but man, does her win rate look bad based on the games that have been played so far. 23%? You might as well just dodge the queue with those numbers.
Yeah, we'd have to look into it and see who's picking them, because sometimes it is the teams that are playing that are teams that have a really low win rate themselves, and the numbers can lie to you a bit. We're obviously very early into the season if we're just counting stats from week 1. I'm not sure if it's including lock-in as well, but either way, Renekton is still up. That is a champion with great win rate there. It was up above 70%, it looked like, in LCS.
71.
So we'll see if they want to go for an aggressive pairing with it. There are things like Elise that we haven't really been seeing in LCS that are pretty strong in solo queue right now, but it will be the earlier Graves that I mentioned as a power farming jungler. This is someone who can move around the map, has a lot of different builds that you can go towards. And Gnar also wouldn't be a shocker here. I think, being hovered by CoreJJ, this has been one of the go-tos into Renekton for a lot of players. If you don't want to go for the really risky matchups, things like the Quinn, then generally people feel that Gnar does have an advantageous matchup, can push in and bully out this Renekton. If the Renekton does not get assistance to actually all in the Gnar when he's in mini form, then you really don't have a lot going for you in this matchup. Gnar is generally going to have control of the wave, can poke you out, and does have the ability to win some of these side lane matchups later on.
Well, the other thing, too, is normally when you see Renekton picked with a powerful jungler that's able to put out a bunch of burst damage in the ganks, it's something like a Nidalee. It is something like that Elise from bygone days that you already mentioned. But the disadvantage of having Graves instead of one of those champions, all the damage is the same damage type. So it will be easier for Alphari to build resistances to that, stack up a little bit of armor if the lane starts to get rough or if he's the one taking a lot of the focus here from the enemy jungler's attention. So Alphari should have some options on how to play around this, have it be a little bit more survivable than otherwise. But with both of these supports on big playmaking, tanky, engaged style of champions, I'm hoping we're going to see an action-packed game here.
Yeah, I think we will. I think that when you see Corey JJ playing these engaged champions, he is not shy about starting fights off. CLG has been playing a lot longer games, so I'm not sure if they're going to be the ones who really want to be proactive or not. But it would be good to see that from them. Either way, I think that TL is going to give us some action.
TL is just always one of those teams that likes to get things going early. I cannot stop singing the praises of Core JJ, always trying to go in for some fights at level 2, level 3, sometimes even level 1. Whenever he's on something that has good follow-up from his AD carry, they like to get bloody in the bottom lane. It's not this sit and wait to scale type of strategy. And then even the way that he rotates around the map afterwards, he's always trying to make moves here for the squad. But we're loading into the game. We're ready to go. Jensen running the Comet here on the Azir. We've talked about this a little bit before, how Comet is generally better against range matchups. Also gives you more control over the laning phase as opposed to just late game power like something like a Lethal Tempo. Both of our junglers running the phase rush this time around, with Alfari packing the Grasp of the Undying up there in the top side for better trades and more sustain up against Finn's Renekton.
Yeah, Grasp is just really nice when you are into the melee matchups, as 4 members mid.
Oh, wow. Okay. Smoothie's going in, man. Getting the flash out of Jensen, and first blood CLG 45 seconds into the game.
What a start from CLG. These pre-planned level 1s, I always love to see teams actually trying, experimenting with, because it's one of those things that it doesn't really cost you a lot. You know, what does CLG lose if Jensen just backs up a bit more and doesn't die there? You don't really lose anything, right? You know, at worst, you're going to get a trade of flashes. This did cost them 3 flashes, though. So that is the one worry for CLG, is if they can be punished for not having those summoners. But that was just a great start. It looked like it was actually a dismounted W from Smoothie, which when you aren't mounted, you have that immediate fling back over your shoulder. It's very hard to actually react to if you flash W from the dismounted stage. You just do that quick little fling, whereas the mounted W has more of that wind up and is easier to react to. So this was really intelligent from CLG.
You love to see it. Counter Logic Gaming, man, on the board nice and early, but can they continue to build this into more and more as we move? That's the question we'll have to answer. Both junglers starting on the bottom side of the map here, and we know that both of these junglers are incredibly effective at clearing camps super quickly, super safely, so they'll both path towards that top side, and we might see some action around the top lane here in a moment. Meanwhile, back at bottom, nothing really too spicy happening just yet. Core JJ maintaining that defensive position in the brush. Alistar is one of those champs that feels much better once he has both parts of the headbutt pulverize.
Yeah, and really, even these days, you want level 3. And ever since the trample change, you kind of need that stun to follow it up, because the headbutt pulverize duration is very, very short unless you have an incredible all-in to actually go for. It's pretty rare to see Alistar's fighting pre-level 3, but they do have the push. That's not a surprise. There's no way you're going to contest the push when you're playing this sort of matchup and your Rel doesn't have Flash or Ignite. It's just not going to happen. So we kind of have to track how these lanes are going over the next couple minutes, as it's the fallout in these following minutes that really decides if that first blood did pay off or not.
Right, because there were quite a few resources spent by the side of CLG. Flash from top laner, Flash from the jungler, both summoner spells on the support. So all of these things are potential avenues for a punish for the side of TL, especially if both of these junglers find themselves in some PvP around this top half of the map. If top laners rotate over to it, Griffin and Finn not having Flash ready to use might change how they decide to play this upcoming couple of minutes here in the game.
Exactly, and it can also change how you're laning, right? You know, how does Renekton ever win a matchup against Gnar? It's generally through an all-in when the guy's stuck in mini form, right? You play aggressively, maybe you're using the flash for that type of an all-in. Alfari knows that's no longer a possibility, so the Gnar can play much more aggressively. You can play in the face of the Renekton, knowing that worst comes to worst, you just flash away, he cannot actually respond to finish off an all-in. So you can already see Alfari's trading so aggressively. You know, he's used his potion, Finn has used his, but he's up in farm, he has the push, and he wants to just constantly trade with that grasp up on the top side to really play it to his advantage. And down here on this bottom side, CLG are trying to make sure that they get this wave to the tower. As that was, I think, an E activation there from Smoothie. It looked like he actually landed the stun as Core JJ went in for the headbutt pulverize combo and couldn't get the second part of it off, I believe is what happened there, because it ended up just being Smoothie getting knocked away. But either way, that was important. They're down summoners. They wanted to bounce the wave so they could reset and try to avoid being stuck in a prolonged lane without those summoners available.
Unfortunately, that did not succeed, though, as the wave is pretty solidly frozen here just outside of the turret range, exactly where Tactical and Core JJ want it to be. Now, Santorin's inside the enemy jungle, throws out the Swirl Seed here for the slow onto Smoothie, but considering they don't know where Griffin is, you don't want to have Lilia face checking that brush if Graves is waiting right around the corner, so they back away.
Yep. And because the wave was so close to TL's turret, even though there was a couple extra minions that you were talking about from CLG, it will bounce and then push out. The second wave stacks up, joins up with the first a bit more quickly. So Wild Turtle had a pretty nice timing on the base. And should be able to farm up most of this. We'll see if they can go in.
Smoothie going in, man. Tactical's already down. And CLG winning a 2v2 in the bottom lane against Team Liquid. Smoothie and Wild Turtle know how to get it done. They forced the flash out of Core JJ as well. And Counter Logic Gaming, baby, looking good here in the first 5 minutes.
They are looking great. As you see, they had that early base because they reset the wave. So Tactical, I don't even think he had a buy yet at this point. And he is now trying to do the exact same thing that CLG did to them. They're trying to reset that wave. You can see that Smoothie is actually playing this in the dismounted form. It's the same thing that he did on that mid lane play. And this is something that I've been feeling Rel players are really underutilizing. They often are using the mounted W, which is kind of that delayed jump in. When you go for the dismounted W, as soon as you mount up, your first hit is going to do that little mini fling. And it's almost impossible to react to if someone flashes on you like that. So that was just a beautiful capitalization of that pressure. And now Jensen is going to be shoved back here. Really good couple early minutes here from CLG. And you love to see them playing aggressive against one of the best bot lanes in the league, not backing down here whatsoever.
Smoothie in particular, man. I am loving what we're seeing out of him here on this Rel in the first 5 minutes of the game. Want to see that continue as we move forward. Remember, this is a team, like we were talking about, like we saw in that sort of little miniature movie about Finn before things started up. CLG didn't have a complete dumpster of a first week. They showed us signs of life. They showed us they know how to get ahead and make plays in League of Legends, but it just fell apart as things move forward. So I think what a lot of CLG fans are cautious about here watching this one is, yeah, they're excited. It's fun to see Smoothie popping off. Wild Turtle and Smoothie winning these 2v2s, it's great. But the big thing will be making sure they can continue that greatness as the game walks forward. Alfari is getting the better of Finn here in this trade, utilizing the ulti on the Gnar just to guarantee that he has health advantage over his opponent and maintains control over this lane here in the 1v1. Now on the other end of the map, it's TL moving forward, wanting to steal away the enemy red buff. Smoothie says, all right, there's way too many bodies around here. Let's just go ahead and dip. Give that one over.
That's nicely done. A bit of pressure here. You can see that TL, despite that death on the bottom side, are not dissuaded. Double pink ward in the enemy jungler. They're going to be going up towards Graves now as well. You can see Core JJ is actually staying with Santorin. They know the obvious answer is to invade now on the top side. So RJS is here, but Griffin is going to be pushed out immediately. Won't even be able to finish off a single camp. And, okay. Good counter flash.
Flash away, yeah. One for one.
Because if that actually lands, even if you flash after, you can then apply the sleep, right? So he had to flash fast there. If Griffin was slow whatsoever, you get slept and you're 100% dead.
You're 100% dead and you still waste your own flash. Because you're obviously committing it, but if your fingers are just a little bit too slow, Lilting Lullaby says, sorry, we get to catch up anyway. It's one of the reasons why Lilia is such a powerful champion. As Smoothie is down back here in the bottom lane, is mounted up on the horse though, so doesn't have the immediate engage potential of that unmounted W like you were talking about, but hey, it's not like Flash is ready to go right now either. Both supports still only utilizing the Hex Flash until those cooldowns are ready to be used once more. CLG 2-0, but only a 400 gold lead. Team Liquid winning in farm up there in both solo lanes. Even a couple ahead here in the bottom lane, but 3 is pretty much just what I would consider even anyway. Usually there's enough to be picked up to make that one square up down there. But back up in top side, Alfari already going for the plated steel caps. I love to see this early on as a ranged champion against a melee. Gives you more kiting power, and especially when enemy top laner and jungler are both physical damage based, just seems like a no-brainer.
Exactly. There's so much value. And it's not even just about the kiting. It's a really strong aggressive option because having the additional move speed, if Renekton goes in for a trade and the trade does not go well, you're just going to chase him down. And now this may just be a kill. Okay, flash.
Yeah, he forces the flash, but hey, summoner spell for free, and now you can call up Santorin and try to make a play whenever Finn returns to the lane. Good stuff from Alfari.
Yeah, he's been laning really well. Alfari is an absolute monster in the 1v1, has been this entire season, and the fact that Finn started without a flash just makes it even harder because there was no opportunity for Finn to really ever even threaten any sort of all-in or aggressive play in the early stages. Finn now realizing he's taking too much minion damage there. And this is bad. When you TP back and you take that much damage,
oh my goodness,
you are at risk of being dove. And likely Alphari will just reset because he doesn't want to play it too crazy. You know, his jungler had reset. There's no one else up here to actually back him up. So Finn will be able to stay around. But Alphari is actually going to cancel his base and try to continue to punish this low bit of health. And I actually really like that because I think in a lot of situations, you'll see players in pro play just take the reset. They pushed it in, their jungler's on their side of the map, all right, back to base. And that allows their opponents who are low on health to just shove out the wave and then reset themselves. Instead, he's trying to lock Finn into an extended lane, and now as a result, look at where Finn is. He knows he can't actually stay in lane. He's got to back off completely.
He's stuck just shadowing his own jungler as they take the Rift Herald. Santorin's going to walk around here. He only finds a control ward, and Griffin did pick up that Shelly in time. So more good news here for Counter Logic Gaming. Now, they do have 4 minutes to use that, and only about 3 minutes and 45 seconds of it will still have the plates still up. So if they wait the maximum duration, they'll end up losing out on some plate money. But I would expect them to be able to recognize, hey, we can get a couple of plates here. Let's use it, get some value. Because on the other side of the map, TL sees, okay, CLG's committing to the northern part. Let's go for the Drake. Free objective.
And one of the things that's tough here for CLG is despite the fact that they've made some really good plays, there's barely any gold advantage for them at all. And that's really just about the individual laning prowess of Team Liquid, right? Despite the fact that Jensen actually started by getting 4-man killed in mid lane and his opponent started with first blood, RJS is down around 20-ish CS. Top lane down around 20-ish CS. Bot lane, despite being killed off, up a good 15 or so CS, right? There's just advantages across the map through superior laning, and now Alphari starting to crack those plates. Finn knows at this low health, he cannot actually stay around with the potential of being Mega Nard into the wall, so he had to back off until at the very least Mega did expire, because without Mega, Alphari should not be able to actually dive here. It would be way too risky if you tried to go in and then Renekton pops the ult and stuns you under tower. So smart little play there from Finn, but it does mean he gives up a plate and drops more farm.
Yeah, solo diving the enemy Renekton as Mini-Gnar with no rage bar is just a hard int at this point. Like, if I saw that happen, I would personally write a handwritten report to Riot HQ.
Dear Riot Games.
Dear Riot Games.
I had a Gnar in my game who ran under the turret in Mini. I'm very angry. I demoted. Please,
can you please take some LP? Anyway, it didn't happen, and that's why Alphari's in the pro scene instead of playing the same solo queue games that the rest of us are. We've got ourselves a dead even game in terms of gold, though, as CLG and Team Liquid are matched so very evenly, but a TP's coming in. Alphari's ready to go, but he doesn't quite have the Gnar bar fully charged. Drowsy down onto the enemy jungler, and CLG has already lost one. Now they're about to lose two. Smoothie's in a bad place, and he's going to an even worse one as they send him right back to the fountain. It is a 2-kill play here for Team Liquid.
Really nicely done by TL, getting use out of that TP advantage there from Alphari. He created pressure up in that top side, already taken a play for himself, and doesn't even have to commit that Mega Gnar. You know, using it actually just scoop up the red buff for himself and then go down towards this bottom side. This is just a great play here from TL. Renekton's up on the top side, has no teleport. Mega Gnar coming in here, already has it ready. And notice how Alphari is actually holding it. He knows he doesn't need to commit anything, you know, early on. He's actually positioning to threaten a dive onto RJS. They see that the team is not actually in position to follow up on that, so he doesn't commit to it, doesn't go over the wall for that potential dive. But TL grabbing an easy 2 kills for themselves there, and now putting themselves right back into the gold lead.
Man, CLG dropping the ball a little bit in that one, not ready to play around the TP of Alphari, who is now down on the bottom side. He'll just be defending against the 2-man of Wild Turtle and Smoothie down here as the Rift Herald is summoned up mid. Again, they're recognizing time is running out. Just grab the plate money, get some sort of value out of this. You're not going to get a full turret from it, so CLG just take whatever they can here.
Mm-hmm. And I like that play, right? And the previous one probably should have been more like that. I think they felt that, hey, if we bring 4 members here, even if Renekton can't join, we should have enough to actually move that in. But that's what can happen when you lose track of deep wards, right? And a lot of that is about the deep warding that Team Liquid had. They gave a TP angle for Alphari. Without that ward there, that play never actually materializes. And now Finn in some trouble here up on the top side, but the early ult may prevent any potential dive, so will just be that ult for nothing.
Yeah, he buys a wave at least, but it ain't going to be over here just yet. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, we got Alphari surviving in a 3v1, finding some damage back on a Wild Turtle who goes up into the ulti, but Jensen's able to provide a little bit of extra damage for Alphari to take him down. CLG, what are you doing, baby? You cannot be going for these 3v1s that are so easily punished. Alphari's continuing the chase as Smoothie gets back over the wall. CoreJJ coming in from the side. They're going after RJS here next. Yes, the shockwave comes out, but what does it matter? Griffin's on the run, and Team Liquid is just murdering him here in the bottom side of the map.
That was such a quick TP response there from Jensen. A lot of credit deserved by him, as Smoothie actually pulled Alphari out of his hop there on the Gnar, and it was a good attempt. They wanted to make a counterplay because they knew that they are losing on that top side. Renekton is pushed off. He had already forced out the ultimate, so down here they go. The initial engage was pretty good, but Griffin's not really in position to actually add any damage, and Wild Turtle, despite the good ultimate to avoid the Azir coming in initially, had already taken 2 tower shots, so CLG, not with the right members actually tanking up that turret, take too much damage and allow for this easy turn. And then Alphari, who had stolen away the enemy red earlier, has the additional chasing power. CoreJJ has roamed down from topside where we saw him making that initial play, across the entire map to get here and catch RJS out. That is the playmaking that you expect from this man. That is why he has been the MVP, and that is why he is so feared in this league.
Team Liquid now with a 2,000 gold lead, feeling perfectly fine. Yeah, the start was a little bit rough, but hey, they're right back in it here as Alphari is once again in a 1 versus 3 situation. Going for the kill onto Wild Turtle. Needs a little bit more to grab it. Won't quite find it. Now he's nearsighted and he's stuck with a nice multi-man ulti coming out. Alphari's walking away as CoreJJ has arrived. CLG's bringing in the rest of the squad. You think we can't kill you with 4 guys? How about 5? It ain't just a burger place, baby. It's a shutdown on Alphari.
They get the kill onto Alphari. 5 top, though, for it. And yes, you will get that, but Tactical gets solo gold, solo experience, like everything from that entire tower. Dragon is lost on the bottom side. Now you're losing your bottom side jungle, so even though you got that kill, you committed Finn's teleport, you committed 5 members, and you have lost gold on the play pretty heavily here if you are CLG.
Immortal Shield Bow completing now for Griffin, so maybe he'll be able to go in a little bit more effectively in some of these fights, but they still got to be so careful, man. Wild Turtle, oh no, the lilting lullabies coming in. He goes to sleep. That was a weird animation buffer there, but I'll tell you guys, he went up into the air and he came right back down. The boy took a nap for the whole flight, and that just means that Team Liquid's cashing in with another kill.
Hey man, you sleep through a flight, that's a great thing to do in real life. Not so good in League of Legends here, as Turtle's waking up and he's dead.
Yeah, that's not the best way to
no, like, that's terrible. It's the last thing you want to see. As Finn maybe going to get dove here. CoreJJ behind him. No.
No, well, all right, CoreJJ's walking this one out. He's taking a lot of damage. Okay, CoreJJ has to flash away. That was a little bit botched, as Tactical will find some damage with the Acathian Rain on the back end of this one. Jensen's hanging out over the wall. Flash coming through. Finn going in. Tactical eating the damage. CoreJJ with a re-engage. Finn goes too far in, and Jensen's here for the paycheck. Team Liquid, 6-3.
Yeah, Team Liquid, the initial play was kind of botched, but then Finn, you could tell he's so hungry to get something going for his team here. Really trying to push for those kills. He does force out summoners from Tactical and CoreJJ, but when Jensen arrives, he was quicker on the move. You can see that RJS is still in mid lane, had TP'd back to mid. There's no answer to him, and Smoothie and Finn cannot continue to play, end up going down for free.
Team Liquid building that lead up to 3,000 now. They've got both Drakes already under their belts. That next one's going to be spawning here in about 3 minutes. All right, Isaac, it's time for me to... Nope, never mind. It ain't time for nothing except Griffin about to get himself murdered with the Void Seeker coming out. Tactical going forward. Griffin gets away. Usage of the flash required to survive in that one. So now let's go back to what I was about to talk about. I'm giving you the impossible task, my friend. I'm putting you on the spot. If you're CLG... If one of these nameplates reads CLG Azael right about now, what's the call? How do you stop this bleeding and make sure you got a chance as we're about to hit the 20-minute mark?
It's tough, right? It's got to be about forcing out a team fight. I think that you want to show up to this next dragon. You've got to kind of bet on your Wombo combo. Rel Orianna is an incredible setup. If you can actually get a really good engage from Smoothie, pull multiple members together for the potential Shockwave, Graves ultimate can come out, the Xayah ultimate can come out, and Feathers can come through multiple members. Really, you are just betting on the Wombo combo, but that's why we're seeing TL, play the side lanes, right? They have Alphari winning in that side lane. He's going to continue to pressure and try to draw members to him, and then TL's just going to take things for free on the other side of the map. And the fact that TL was able to get those 2 early dragons means even if you're CLG and you show up to this next dragon, you say, all right, we're ready to go. Let's scrap. TL doesn't have to come. There could be no one there, right? You just lose in farm elsewhere on the map, and that's the difficulty here for CLG.
RJS walking over a ward. Alphari immediately jumps over the wall to agree to miss the first Q, so RJS doesn't take quite as much damage as he otherwise might have. Alphari losing over half his HP now with a nice shockwave coming out from the CLG mid laner. Santorin can't quite do enough to kill him off, so RJS will barely hobble away.
Yeah, Griffin not having the ultimate there. Otherwise, Alphari likely would have gone down, but still, nice play. RJS does survive. They force out the flash there from Alphari, which may relieve a little bit of pressure in that side lane. But it's tough for CLG because they don't really have an answer for him. Alphari is quite far ahead. He's going to be pressuring Finn, incredibly difficult for the Renekton really at this point to match up with the Gnar, and that's why they're sending RJS out there. But if RJS is there, you cannot fight without your Orianna. And now TL just going to 3-man this Baron. You've got the Azir. No one from CLG is moving over here. This is looking like a free Baron. It takes a while to kill off. Now, finally, they're kind of inching over, and Will spot it with that blue orb, but will just be committed to.
TL is still sticking around. Baron will finally recover. They do decide to back away. Man, that was so close to being just utter disaster. Game over levels for CLG. They stopped the Baron attempt 20 minutes into the game. Team Liquid does have to fall back a little bit on that one. But as the Baron was being attempted, we saw total damage inflicted so far this game. And at first you might look at it and think, well, yeah, obviously Alphari's going to have the highest damage because he's a ranged top laner versus a melee top laner. That's just what he gets to do. He gets to beat up the other meatball the whole time, right? But again, it goes back to what you were talking about, Isaac. The state of summoner spells. Based on the level 1, Alphari's been set up for success the whole time to make sure Finn is having a bad game. Core JJ's going in. Santorin dropping down the lullaby onto 2 as Alphari goes for the damage onto RJS off the side, flashing over the wall, staying alive. Shockwave hits nothing. Smoothie and Finn trying to survive here off to the left as RJS going to be killed off by Core JJ. It's the Alistar in a 1v3, just kicking ass and taking names, and it's a triple kill for Tactical. A 5-for-0 for TL gives them an ace and their 3rd Drake of the game.
The Bud Light ace, Soul Point, and they could even take more off of this. Alphari down in that bottom lane. Jensen moving over potentially towards that Baron. CLG may just have sealed this game in full control. Jensen is going to start it up on this ward, but I don't think that there's really any answer here as we can watch once more in the Bud Light ace. Hex Flash over the wall, catching Griffin immediately. The turn from CLG was just never really there. Multi-man sleep came through from Santorin. RJS going over the wall. The shockwave was way too late. The ball was not attached to Smoothie. I think that RJS assumed it still was, because Smoothie did have a nice little counter engage there to try to peel for his mid laner, but not able to connect on that combo. That is what they were really relying on. And TL just had such a strong start to the fight. Core JJ over the wall, breaking everyone up at the same time as Alphari is chasing the Orianna, pushing him out. And TL just split them apart into so many different sections and won their individual skill checks and skirmishes on every single side.
Man, and Core JJ saving the Alistar ulti too. Even if he's the one making the initial move, he doesn't just press the R assuming that, hey, I'm going to be tanking up because I'm starting out the fight. He saves it all the way to the very end, and that's what cut that fight in half so beautifully and let Core JJ just go in there 1v3 style, pick up the last little bit of health on RJS, and then stand and tank the remaining 2 players. Man, holy cow, indeed. Core JJ 1-0-7 here on the Alistar. All of Team Liquid looking good here. 7,000 gold lead, 1 Drake off of an Ocean Soul, and Baron buff up and running here for the next 2 minutes. Remember, they've only taken 4 turrets, so there's still 2 turrets standing outside of that enemy inhibitor line that should just be free money here for the TL squad.
Yeah, they're in such a strong point at this time, and you can see this Derrix is done, the Stridebreaker, enough armor for Alphari to never really be threatened to get burst down, and Smoothie's going in.
All right, Smoothie's trying to start it out. Shockwave's going to find Tactical, but the heal keeps him alive. Santorin going for the lilting lullaby here yet again. Picking up 1, picking up 2. Will the 3rd one come in? Doesn't quite look like it here just yet. Wild Turtle and Griffin falling back. They got nowhere else to go. CoreJJ says, you ain't going anywhere, as Griffin's gonna fall over next. It's Finn against the world, and the world is a big one, man. Look at how difficult this is for CLG to do anything. You give Liquid an inch, they're taking a mile, and they're walking that mile all the way home to a victory. All 5 players alive, pushing onto the Nexus turrets. Nobody from CLG coming back in time to keep this one going. Yeah, Smoothie's here, but what is Rel to do in a 2v5 with only Renekton to help you? Alfari takes a little bit of a shower in the fountain laser, doesn't really want to be doing that one too much longer here. RJS and Turtle about to respawn. You know, I gotta wonder, is TL just taking their time to see if they can pad their stats a little bit more once CLG respawns? They have been so far in control of this game right now. Nexus dropping down to about 10% HP. CoreJJ buying a little bit of time here with the stopwatch, going right back into the fight. Finn gonna be taken low. Turtle having to flash right back into the fountain. His Nexus still under fire. Tactical going godlike, and ladies and gentlemen, GG, well played. Not even 25 minutes into the game, TL takes out CLG 18-3.
Oh, how demoralizing is that if you are CLG? Team Liquid, pre-25 minutes, delay the Nexus kill so they can kill you off at your fountain again before closing it out. That is complete and utter domination for Team Liquid. CLG had a couple good early plays, got themselves on the board. The early level 1 there, capitalizing on a kill on Jensen, the 2v2 kill on that bottom side. But besides that, it was all TL all the time. They were better coordinated. They were winning their lanes, winning their individual skill checks, winning out on the skirmishes, and really just showing their class in this game.
And that's why I had to say that line that I said after CLG had a good start, where CLG fans are cautious, being excited about this one, because they need to see them continue early game success through the rest of the game, and they just could not do it. As soon as it came together and turned into those 5v5 fights, removing people from the individual laning phases, it started with the play in the bottom side river, the teleport coming in from Alfari to pick up the couple of kills and tie up the game. And after that, it just felt like everything TL did was pre-planned, set up, and good to go. And when CLG tried to respond in kind, you had plays like the 3v1 turret dive underneath the tier 1 on the bottom side that just don't work and end up being another victory for TL. So clearly, plenty of things still to work on here for CLG as TL continues to refine themselves.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at CLG, they had some good moments, but today I would say RJS and Smoothie did not seem to be as coordinated as they were last week when they brought out this combo. The Rel Orianna is a really deadly teamfight combo. We saw a number of engages where Smoothie actually caught multiple members. RJS wasn't ready with the Shockwave to actually capitalize on that. And when you're drafting so heavily for the 5v5 and you're losing your side lanes, you must capitalize on those moments. You have to win those 5v5s. Otherwise, the game is going to look like this, and TL really just a cut above.
If CLG fans are looking for a light shining in the darkness, though, I would say that Smoothie's early plays, the CC, the flash engages using the dismounted form of Rel, were able to catch TL off guard, and that's a nice sign of life, showing that they can get those early leads. But just everything thereafter that's going to take a little bit more work here for this squad. Now we're heading to break here once again, but on the other side of that break, we are going to come back and hear from Tactical. Latigris is going to be interviewing him about the win in the Verizon post-game interview, so don't y'all go anywhere.
Lion! Ah, yes, the king of the jungle. Time for a Red Bull.
Red Bull? Still, you'll never be faster than a lion.
I don't have to be quicker than the lion, just faster than you.
Red Bull gives you wings.
One spot, yeah, no key, got the game on lock, ayy. Big threes when I take my shot, ayy. On the rise and we ain't gon' drop on the grind, it's our time, just watch. If you want it, you can get it. Life gets hard, but don't you let it get you down. Go get the crown because our time is now. Ayy, we gotta get it, gotta get up, gotta go, we gotta get it. things won't be the same. Nah, on the mission, gotta get it, let's work. You were raised on the net, I'm raising my net worth. But it ain't about the money, nah, it ain't about the cause. All that matters is the world knows who we are. Stars. If you want it, you can get it. Life gets hard, but don't you let it get you down. Go get the crown because our time is now. Hey, we gotta get it. Gotta get up, gotta go, we gotta get it. Hey, they won't forget us. Made it happen and we all became legends. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it. Know that our time is now. Yes, life can get hard, but don't ever let it keep you down. See, we are all kings and queens and we all deserve crowns. So don't wait. Get up, go out and get it. Now. Hey, we gotta get it. Gotta get up, gotta go, we gotta get it. Hey, they won't forget us. Made it happen and we all became legends. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it. We gotta get it. Gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it. Gotta get it, gotta get it, get it.
Welcome back to the LCS, everyone. Here for another Verizon post-game interview. We have Team Liquid Tactical. How you doing? First win going into the week.
Feels pretty good. It looks like we're played pretty well today after the early game. There were some blunders, but overall I'm pretty happy that we won.
Yeah, going into this game, because while CLG were 0-3, they did still have some high moments that got people excited about them. What was your personal level of concern going into the matchup?
So I didn't really think much about before the game. I don't really worry about my the enemy before a game. I don't like necessarily disrespect anyone. I just go into the game, look at the champions, and just playing off that. But they did well in the early game. I messed up too. They got killed in Jensen. I died, but eventually we pulled it out. Won in mid and late game.
Yeah, there were some moments in the early game where CLG seemed like they were locking onto things, and it's once we got into that mid game where it started to get a bit dismantled. In those moments, are you and the team kind of relying upon that team play that Team Liquid has so carefully worked on, or is there something else coming into play to kick it into gear once you get into that fighting phase?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of teamwork, and everyone tries to be creative with looking for as many plays as possible, like TP flanks or just engage angles, trying to use any advantage we have. So it's a combination of like teamwork and like individual creativity.
Yeah, the individual creativity on both sides comes into play, especially from that initiation when it comes to the team fights. So in the era of kind of looking at what your opponents are doing to develop on the side of Smoothie for CLG, we have seen some decent engages, though they did struggle a bit later. What kind of threat do you think that they can pose from that bot lane now that you have a bit more experience against them?
I think they can pull off pretty good engages if they're able to get their ball in ahead more. I think Smoothie's really got looking for engage angles and whatnot. And honestly, there was not too much I can say because it seems like my job is just to like farm and then we'll try to be the better team or whatever, and then we'll win. So in terms of ball lane, there's not much to happen. I couldn't really learn too much because all we did was a farm after I died.
Yeah, you mentioned that sometimes your job is just to farm, and I know in the Team Liquid content that released, you talked about feeling like you were in a farming simulator at some points. Are you poking fun at that a bit? Are you having a certain level of enjoyment? Just curious about what an ideal game is for you when it comes to the level of fun you're having.
For me, obviously, I like to be the one that's carrying the game, like the one that has to kill the leads early. I do feel really bored when all I have to do is farm and 0-0-0 score lead and just have priority. It just feels like I'm not doing enough, but in the far team right now, it isn't more than enough just to get priority or just farm. But yeah, that's why I might play a bit over aggressive or make random mistakes. I'm just trying so hard to win when it's no point.
looking ahead, though, I mean, you do have TSM coming up next, and the supports on both sides seem to believe that it is going to be a lot more on the scrappy and bloody side. What are you looking forward to going into that matchup?
I hope we could pick a spicy volley matchup. I do think last time we played versus them, Lost just made a really unlucky but simple mistake. So I want to like have a spicy matchup where we fight a lot. I think it'll be really fun that way.
Yeah, fun times when the fighting's going on the Rift. Tactical, thanks for stopping by.
No problem.
We've got more action to come here on the LCS after the break. We'll be heading into Evil Geniuses versus Cloud9. Stay tuned.
Decorative towel.
There was a mess. I wiped up a mess.
Yeah, you Where is the butt? Never mind, I found it.
When game day is a go, there's a Bud Light there.